You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. A powerful speech. Boring. Beige. Bland. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I trust that you're watching this video, having undoubtedly experienced a number of near misses, akin to those experienced by the Duke and Duchess of Exaggeration, as you perhaps drove to work or drove home or driven to the shops. Well done on navigating what was probably a 3-hour car chase as you were pursued by imaginary paparazzi. With all of the brouhaha that has surrounded the supposed car chase that apparently took place in New York City a couple of nights ago, and the very quick unravelling of that utter clusterfuck of bullshit that has been spun by Harry's wife, the actual speech that she gave at the Women of Vision event seems to have been forgotten. Now, of course, it probably would have been forgotten about fairly quickly, because one would imagine that its content was a little bit like that of a marshmallow, fluffy and gone in an instant. But it's always worth examining the things that a narcissist says to understand more about the way that the narcissist behaves, and also to understand more about Harry's wife. Harry's wife was receiving a Bort Award at the Ms. Foundation Gala and was providing a speech to those who had forked out something like $1,500 per ticket. Not exactly chicken feed. I've attended many black tie events in my time and have heard from a range of excellent speakers. I want to listen to somebody who has made their mark on society, history, business, sport, politics, art. I want to know what makes them tick, because invariably that always assists me in my understanding of people as human beings. But I also want to hear about what they've done, what they've achieved, what motivates them. I want to be entertained by some humorous anecdotes peppered amongst the serious stuff. I want to hear the message that this person has to deliver. Invariably, when I attend these events, it's not that I'm being spoken to by somebody delivering a political diatribe at a rally, but rather their job is as an after-dinner speaker that is there to entertain. So whether it's repeatedly swearing footballers recounting the early days of their career, or whether it's a political journalist telling you about the difficult encounters that he or she has had, I've had the good fortune to listen to some excellent speakers. I would not place Harry's wife amongst them. Why? Well, there's no doubt that some of the speakers that I have heard from are narcissists, but they are higher echelon ones. The problem with Harry's wife is, as I've explained for such a long time and that was taken up by South Park, she is empty. She is a mediocre actress that has used men. That's it. If you were to provide an accurate resume of Harry's wife's life, it would be mediocre actress, cable channel program, married a prince, used men previously. That's it. For all of the bullshit that is spouted about her being an advocate for women's rights, for being a philanthropist, that's all complete nonsense. She just talks about those things. Hijacks other people's achievements, character trait acquisition. She doesn't do any of those things. And the problem is that her narcissism compels her to believe that she's a fascinating individual whose message is scintillating, raw, and unique. The reality is, she not only hasn't achieved anything with which to speak about in a meaningful fashion, she has no novel ideas. We only saw in my recent video analysis where she was interviewed and she was basically asked about how one balances feminism with being feminine as a consequence of conservative business ideals being prevalent. After much flannel and nonsense and talking about herself, her answer was, "You can wear makeup and still be a feminist." Wow. Wow. That is the sum total of this advocate's contribution to the fight for the sisters. She's not particularly intelligent. She's never really achieved anything. And unfortunately for the world, were she not a narcissist, she would recognize, I don't really have anything to tell people. I'm just going to get on with my life, do my acting. If she had somehow married Prince Harry and was a normal person, would have stayed within the royal family and leveraged off that, recognizing the advantage that would be obtained by remaining within it. But of course, for Harry's wife, she believes that she's the star of the show, the centre of the universe. And therefore, unfortunately, we're treated to repeatedly dull, boring and vapid speeches from her. But they're still worth examination just for the sheer hilarity of the nonsense that she spouts and demonstrating her narcissism in action. Let's get down to the actual speech that she gave. She was on stage for the Ms. Foundation, and accordingly, she stated as follows: "Thank you for the leadership that has brought all of us here tonight, and to my friend Gloria for the inspiration that you are, for your mentorship, your sage advice, your extraordinarily cheeky sense of humour, and of course for your incredible friendship. Thank you." Layers on some flattery there. "To this evening's other honorees, congratulations, and frankly well deserved." Now, many people might think, well, that's good of her to recognise the other people, but remember, this is coming from a narcissist, and she's basically demonstrating a haughtiness. I can pronounce on your congratulations, and I can pronounce on your well-deserved because I'm actually more important than you. She continues, "Thank you for the important and meaningful work that you do. And while I was familiar with most of your work before tonight, nothing could compare to the focus, the determination, the energy I feel from each of you. Especially as we all bear witness to you standing in elegance and the power of your strength. What utter meaningless slop, standing in elegance and the power of your strength. Now, to Ms. Foundation, thank you for this truly special honour. It's funny because as a young girl, and we're off. She's allowed some flattery of Gloria Steinem and the other honorees, but then it's straight down to her favourite topic, herself. What amazing anecdote are we going to be shared on this occasion? Something that's going to provide us with inspiration and insight? It's funny, because as a young girl, I would come home and I'd settle in after a day of school. I'd pull up my TV tray with dinner, and I would turn on my evening ritual of Jeopardy, and I would glance at the coffee table where I would see an array of things. It could be the cat's collar, my homework, some mail that had just been brought in, and some magazines. Wow. Imagine you've paid $1,500 to listen to that. Basically a person telling you, I get home, have a TV dinner, and then I describe to you a load of household items. Absolutely fascinating. Not only, of course, is this recollection at odds with her talking about dining as the Duchess of Sizzler salad and eating noodles naked in a Korean restaurant or sauna, but she attempts once again through the revision of history and bringing up the past once again. We've heard this anecdote before. If you remember, she claimed that people contacted her when I think it was the host of Jeopardy passed away a little while ago, to offer their condolences. Utter bullshit. Why on earth would you ring somebody up and go, "Oh, you used to watch this program, didn't you? I'm so sorry that the presenter has died." She just wouldn't do that. And moreover, why would you remember that this person watched that television from their youth? You probably wouldn't. But once again, it's a self-centered nature of Harry's wife, where she thinks that everybody is interested in what she does. She carried on by stating, "The magazines said Ms. on them, and I remember them vividly because the pictures were different. I suspect this never happened, and this is just her narcissism revising history once again. There was a diversity that I hadn't seen as often, both of colour and of age, and the names were different. There were congresswomen, there were astronauts, and the topics were different, from mothering to being a working mom to heavier topics such as domestic violence, the poverty line, unearthing its roots, where it comes from, and matters of equity. And now when I say different in describing this Ms. magazine on the coffee table of our home in Cloverdale, I mean different from the covers of the magazines I would see at the grocery store checkout. And I was too young at the time to know what most of it meant. But I also knew that to my mum, to my dear mum, who I'm honoured to have here with me tonight, open brackets, the mum that pissed off for a number of years and didn't bother to assist in my childhood or looking after me, which was done actually by my father, who I have now disengaged from. So notice the reason that Doria Ragdale was brought along was as a consequence of ensuring that she could be triangulated with the audience and receive some flattery and praise. Difficult to reconcile, isn't it, that the concept of a strong, independent feminist would be thanking somebody that basically abrogated her parental responsibilities and duties, and by the same token has alienated and forgotten about and cast to one side the individual that actually played a role in bringing her up. But it's no surprise, of course, because she's a narcissist. She continued, "I knew that the significance of these magazines was important. I mean, it wasn't a one-off. She had a subscription. And having these pages in our home, it signalled to me that there was just so much more than the dolled-up covers and the images that you would see on the grocery store covers. It signalled to me that substance mattered." Ha ha ha! She thinks it does, and obviously doesn't see the irony that she is not a woman of substance. The presence of Ms. Magazine was more than a tool that I inherently learned from. It was an invitation to pay very close attention to the fact that change is just one action away. There you go, first fridge magnet platitude. And these tenets have fueled Ms. Foundation's work for the last 50 years. Because of this foundation, so many of our youth have been instilled with self-worth and limitless possibility, no matter their race, their gender, their class, sexual orientation, disability, or age. The collective work of this foundation in pursuit of a world where everyone, truly everyone, is valued is just nothing short of awe-inspiring. So, you've so far paid $1,500 to hear her congratulate some people, talk about what she saw around her when she was having a TV dinner, and then tell you what you already knew about the aims of the foundation. Money well spent, I'm sure you'll agree. So when I reflect on the time in my life when I was young, the imprints that were etched in my mind, I can now connect the dots in a much better way to understand how I became a young feminist and evolved into a grown activist. Back to her favourite topic again, talking about herself. Ms. was formative in that cocooning. It piqued my curiosity, and it became the chrysalis for the woman that I would become and what I am today. Forgive me, but I don't think she's ever mentioned this before. And of course, it's quite simply, you could well imagine that Harry's wife would turn up at 6 different award shows in the course of the year. And let's say each of those award shows involves an organisation that is about female empowerment. And you could imagine that she would give the same speech to each of them. So she would say, Ms. Magazine was the tool that I inherently learned from, and it caused me to become the woman that I am today. And then she attends, I don't know, Women for Empowerment. And then she tells them that the presence of Women for Empowerment was a tool that I inherently learned from, and it became the chrysalis for the woman that I would become and that I am today. And then she goes and attends Feminist Action and tells them that Feminist Action was more than a tool that I inherently learned from. It became the chrysalis for the woman that I would become and that I am today. Because that's the nature of Harry's wife. Because she's empty on the inside, she just adjusts herself to whatever is in front of her and claims, oh yes, I really like you and you were instrumental in creating what I am. And that fluidity is demonstrative in so much of what she does. And that is part of her narcissism. She continues with this blandfest by stating, I am a woman who remains inspired and driven by this organisation and by those around me. You know, repetition is recognition, as they say, do they? And the narrative on repeat that surrounded me allowed me to recognise that part of my greater value and purpose in life was to advocate for those who felt unheard, to stand up to injustice, and to be not afraid of saying what you know is true, and what is just and what is right. This is an habitual liar. And you would think the barefaced cheek of this woman to stand there and come out with those words and do so with a straight face. But she does so because she honestly believes them, because her narcissism causes her to do so. She continues, so whether your inspiration comes from a magazine on your coffee table, from your childhood, or an article that you read yesterday, an experience that you had today, maybe tonight even, or a moment that you will just walk right into tomorrow, I suppose the point is, it's just never too late to start. You can be the visionary of your own life. Ugh. You can charter a path in which what you repeat in your daily acts of service, in kindness, in advocacy, in grace, and in fairness, that those become the very things that are recognised by the next wave of women, both young and old, who will also choose this moment to join the movement and make our vision for an equitable world reality. Because while, as my dear friend Glow often reminds me, there is still so much work to be done, I think there, Harry's wife, she's ringing up saying, look, you lazy cow, when are you actually going to do something rather than keep talking? And let's be clear, I, as all of you in this room know, that she will continue to do that vital work while wearing her black leather pants and signature glasses. She's also always reminded me that it's the community that we create in doing that work. It's this sisterhood. It's this togetherness. That's the joy in it as well. Work doesn't have to be hard work. It certainly isn't where you're concerned, 1 hour a week at Archwell. And it doesn't feel like hard work when we do it together. Or rather, it doesn't feel like hard work when you do all the hard work and I swan in at the end and steal your credit. So I'm proud this evening to stand with such visionaries and even prouder to stand shoulder to shoulder with this community. Thank you all so much. And there you have it. That's the supposedly powerful speech, as Town and Country magazine labelled it. What's powerful about that? Square root of fuck all, I would suggest. But it's demonstrative of her delusion, her grandiosity, her condescending nature, the character trait acquisition that she engages in, the false flattery that she spoons around, and shows to you what an empty, boring, beige, bland, meaningless individual this woman really is. I'm H.D. Tudor. Thank you for listening.